Welcome to CC Writes. My name is CC Lepke, and today I'm working hard so that I can be lazy later. Hopefully. A long time ago, I started writing a webcomic about superheroes who rent an apartment together from a supervillain. It's basically Friends, but with superheroes. I loved the comic so much, but at the time I didn't know how to write a comic and had absolutely no idea how to do paneling. But the worst part was my lack of consistency in the artwork. At the time, I was also working on a job that I hated, and I went through a really severe episode of depression and ended up quitting writing altogether. It's been several years since then. I'm in a much better place now, and I'm about to switch to writing fiction full-time, so I thought this might be a good time to restart my webcomic. But this time, I want to have some consistency in my artwork and make the drawing process as easy as humanly possible. Basically, I'm lazy, and the less energy I need to put into a project, the more likely I am to finish it. And that brings me to Blender. Last week, I had a hard time after I got harassed while I was on a walk. I couldn't make myself do any of my regular work because of it, which is also why I didn't post anything last week. Learning new things usually helps me feel better, so after several days, I downloaded Blender and I started teaching myself how to use it. I had a blast learning it, and I got inspired to use it as a tool for my writing. Specifically for reviving the webcomic that I really enjoyed writing years ago. So today I'm making a basic head model for my characters to simplify the sketching process. I've seen this done in other art programs, specifically Manga Studio has a feature where you can import a 3D model of a character and pose it so that you can get the sketching done and have the angle of everything done really well. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. Eventually, I'll make body forms and sets that I can use so that I can pose my characters and pick different angles to draw them from and just make the whole process super easy. I had to pull up a bunch of tutorials while I was working on it. I only learned Blender like 2 days ago, so my skill level is still pretty low, and there are a bunch of fancy buttons that I don't know how to use. Luckily for me, my characters are really stylized. That means I don't have to get too complex with my sculpting. I'm mostly just making a chibi-style head as close as possible to my original character designs. I am not a professional artist, and this is not a tutorial, so I'm not going to explain the tools I'm using or how I sculpted it. But afterward, I'm going to test out the model by doing a 2D drawing on top of it to make sure the characters look right. So here we go. The head model that I'm creating today is for the female characters in my story. The story is called Averting Crisis, and like I said, it's about a group of superheroes that rent an apartment from a supervillain. And the thing that I find funny about the whole story is that they never actually fight crime during the story. It's all about the relationships that they have with each other and how they go about living their lives as superheroes when they're not fighting crime. The two female characters that I'm going to be drawing today from this head model are Sally Sparks and Tabitha Sweet. Tabitha Sweet is known as Brainstorm. Tabitha Sweet is telekinetic, but she has a secret second power that is alluded to in the series, but you don't really get into it until you start getting more into her backstory. She's a very young superhero. She's just sort of getting her feet under her in the superhero game. And so the other characters are going to act a little bit more as her mentors and friends as she's sort of learning who she is as a superhero and coming to terms with her past and what brought her there in the first place. The second character that I'm drawing is Sally Sparks. Sally Sparks is known as the Inferno. She is pyrokinetic, so she has the ability to generate and control fire. She's actually my favorite character in the series. I love the look of her. I love what she's able to do. She's very sassy and funny and sweet as a person, and so I just love any comic that she's a part of, so I wanted to include her here just because I really love drawing her at all. The other characters in the story are really fun too, but these two are definitely my absolute favorite, especially Sally, because she's just really fun to write. So I just wanted to share a little bit about these two characters with you, and hopefully eventually you'll get to see the webcomic as I start to redo it. I really liked the way my model looked, but the sketch on top of it looked kind of off. I think I'll have to rework the facial structure a bit to make the eyes and mouth set a little bit lower on the head, but I'm not really sure. Let me know what you think in the comments. This week, I'm going to spend a little time learning how to sculpt figures. If I get any good at it, I'll show you the end result of my posable figure and how I plan to use it for making comics. That's it for today. As always, thank you for joining me on my writing adventures in imaginary places. Don't forget to check out my other platforms on Twitter and Twitch. There are links in the description. I'll see you later.